Welcome to the Do Bash. This is the third installment of this show we get together and do every week. This week's kind of a little special. We're having our first guest on here. He is the, lead investigator of Star Mountain Paranormal. He's a demonologist. He's an all-round good guy, man, and we're happy to spend time with him tonight. His name is Larry Gouge. Welcome, Larry.
Glad to be here, buddy. Glad to be here.
Larry, like I said, this is Daniel.
How you doing?
Matt and Travis. You know Travis.
I can only see Travis's forehead there. So I like to say, oh, yes, I got you now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, he's ugly. We try to keep him off camera as much as we can.
I'm pretty.
We run the audience off on it, But Larry, I'm excited about this show because everybody knows I'm real into ghost hunting and the paranormal. And I've heard a lot of your stories, and I'm anxious for the rest of these guys to hear a lot of those stories. So we'll start this off, man. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What you do, what you've done, and we'll just go from there, bud.
What I've done, it'll take an hour to tell you everything I've done. But hey, I'm 57, be 58 next month. Born and raised in Etowah. I currently run my dad's business, which is mine too, of appliances, and I work for Etowah Police Department right now. And I got into ghost hunting about it's probably been 45, 46 years ago. And with my first experience was actually in a church. It was pretty exciting. If you just want me to tell you about it, I can tell you about it.
Yeah, go for it. Let's hear it, man. I want to hear everything as much as we can anyhow.
I was just about 15, somewhere in there. And my dad was called, he always pastored his church. He got called to go and hold a revival up in Morristown, Tennessee. And for that whole week, Dad had been studying. He was even studying Latin. He was in the Bible. He was things that I've never seen him do before. God was already showing him things that was going to happen. So we get up there at that church, and one night, I can't remember, I think it's like a Friday or Saturday night. It was getting close to the end of the week. And my mom goes, can we pray? This other boy's my age. My mom said, can we bring him up there and pray for him? And he went up there, and they walked up, and I'm holding this Church of God. We all believe in laying hands. And so they went up there, and he was facing my dad. Dad was facing the audience. And when Dad laid his hands on him, and my mom was just wrapped her arms around his back, his eyes went back in his head. He started slobbering. He started growling. Granted, I was 15 years old, and I slept in bed with Mom and Daddy for a week till I got her. But it fascinated me, and now it's hard to scare me now. But this boy had two demons in him, and Dad, they prayed for this guy, and this one woman come over there and was talking to him about Jesus, and all of a sudden he just turned his head. He never touched it. His hands never left his side. The lady flew out of her shoes and went about 15 feet across the floor and hit the piano. The Bible went with her. The Bible fell back down in her hands. Her shoes were still sitting there at him. Then she come back over there, and they were still praying on him and arguing and fighting. And my dad was 6'3", 300 pounds. It put my daddy on the floor, and Daddy was stretched out on the floor like he was just laying there sleeping. And he was bouncing him like a basketball. And the floor just boom, 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 boom. I mean, it was wild. So Daddy gets up, and they keep praying, they keep arguing, and they got that demon out of him. But that wasn't the mean demon. That wasn't the meaning, boys. You thought that was the meaning. That wasn't the meaning. Daddy walked up to that boy and said, son, do you feel, and get all things flying around, books, everything's flying around, just like watching The Exorcist movie. Craziest thing you ever want to see in your life. You've never seen nothing like that. Hope you don't ever see it. And Dad walked over and said, son, how you feeling? He said, I feel fine. Daddy turned, started to walk away. And my dad I could see my dad. He had his eyes. You can see him praying. He just shaking his head like that. Dad turned back around. He looked at him. He with his finger. He said, Lucifer, you're a liar. Let me tell you something right now. That place come, the whole church shook. That thing come, you could feel the ground shaking on that stage. That thing, it was so loud. I mean, his growls were deeper, and then he started. This time he talked, and he was talking about, you're my people, this and that, and that lady was pressing, no, you're not Jesus. This says Jesus. And he was still arguing, and then he started talking in Latin. Of course, I didn't know what he was saying. Then my dad don't know what Dad was saying because he was speaking in tongues, talking to him. And they locked horns face to face. And this guy was nothing but, I'm assuming it was Latin. That's what it sounded like coming out of his mouth. And what was coming out of my daddy's, I guess it was Latin. It sounded about the same. And but it was just different tone to it. And that went on for 3 hours. 3 hours
Dang.
that went on. But I remember when it first started, that first thing, and I remember when it started, Daddy looked up and told everybody, he said, if you're not where you need to be with God, you need to leave this building and go as far away as you can, or you need to get up here and get on your knees and start praying now. Because he said, it's about to get ugly. I remember my daddy saying that, it's about to get ugly. That took 3 hours fighting with that demon. He argued and he argued and I mean, it was like watching The Exorcist and the demonic voice coming out of it. It was the most evil, I mean, that you've ever seen. And granted, this whole time there's stuff flying on the stage, just flying back and forth. And I know people look at me and say, wow, he's full of crap. Well, I can bring you about 15 witnesses right now, even the boy's daddy. He still lives in Morristown right now, and he can tell you all about it. And
Uh,
but that was the very first thing that got me into the paranormal. Uh, After that, I got and I've learned a lot in the last 2 years since I used to talk to you about. I've learned a whole lot that you might be interested to know a little later in the show. What I think about what's really going on and what we're dealing with.
that's crazy. Daniel, what was you going to say, bud?
Well, so that kind of blew my question out of the water. What I was going to ask is, you got into it at an early age, and if that was your first experience, my question was, how has your experiences over the years changed? Have they gotten uh, more powerful, more serious, or kind of the opposite? And if you're already at a demon possession, and you're probably what, 12, 13 years old at this point.
About
That
15, 16, something.
Okay, so that blew my question out of the water, is if things got more escalated
Uh,
over the years.
Hey, Larry.
yeah.
Hey, I'll go ahead. Let's just go ahead and start. Tell them about. I know this story, guys, but Larry, tell them about South Pittsburgh Hospital.
Well, that's what I was fixing to say. I'm gonna say I've been in a lot of demonic possessions, and that one up there was probably the meanest one I've ever been to, as of somebody actually being possessed. But I did see one more, which I've got a couple of stories down there. Is the one where I got picked up and thrown, or is it the one that actually killed this guy?
The one you got picked up and thrown is the one I'm talking about.
Well, I had a friend that was on my paranormal team that died from an attack down there, and that's one of the meanest, evilest places I've ever been to. And we're in here. I've got one of my lead investigators, Linda. Before we went that day, she goes, "All right, we're taking some people on a ghost hunt." She said, "If you want to just get EVPs, maybe get some good pics, Casper," she said, "go with me." Now, but I will say one thing: if we're in a home investigation, she's right there by my side. But she says, if you want thrown, bit, scratched, kicked, cussed, she said, go with Gouge. That's what she said. Well, I've got a lot of good stories. We've got plenty of time to tell them. But this particular one he's talking about, we was up in the 3rd floor, and that's a pretty bad floor. A lot of bad things happen on that floor. And I'm agitating. I'm gaslighting. I probably shouldn't have been, but my wife says I gaslight a lot. I wouldn't do that.
No.
Ask referees. I wouldn't gaslight nobody. But I'm gaslighting them, and let me tell you something right now. That son of a gun, it picked me up, and I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not the easiest man to pick up. I'm a stout son of a gun. It picked me up, growled, it threw me. I'm gonna say, I think we measured it off. It's almost 17 feet. I went head first into the wall. the people with me, they scattered and was running like crazy, screaming. And I was hollering at them, please don't leave. Everybody stay together. That's what it wants us. It wants us separated. I said, it wants us separated. Do not leave. And I was screaming at them, did it do any good? No, they just seen their guide get picked up and thrown. so
Golly, bum.
and I had to get shots in my back. It messed my spine. As that line, I had to get shots in my back for a while. I think I seen him raise his hand, didn't I?
Yeah. So I was going to ask about what year was this?
I want to say it was about the time we was coaching football up here at Central. What year was that?
2018, 2019, something like that.
Somewhere in that
2019
neighborhood.
and 2019, 2020.
It was right before. It was probably 2 or 3 years before COVID.
So I know
Yeah.
a little bit about South Pittsburgh Hospital. My wife's cousin actually runs a lot of ghost hunts down there.
Okay.
The hospital shut down sometime around 1998, I think. It's got 3 floors. There's a few spirits that I guess they're more prevalent than what some of the others are. We actually went on a ghost hunt about 2021. It was Thanksgiving night. Now,
I know you. I mean, Phillips, I know you from somewhere.
well, I mean, my family's been all over Inglewood, but
I just now got to. I didn't mean to break you up, but I got to look at that name again. I said, I know what's man. All right, go ahead.
So we get up there Thanksgiving night, and everything, is about normal. We break off into teams of 2. We cover each of the floors. We hear a little bit of the history about the hospital. We try to talk to some of the more prevalent spirits that's there that shows up. I think Jim, there's a guy named Jim at the very bottom of the first floor.
I can tell you all about Jim.
Yeah, he actually used to live there.
Yes.
But they're getting on, I don't know, about 4:30 at night, in the morning there. We were doing the Estes method.
Yep.
And for, the people that don't know about the Estes method, is basically you got a set of headphones on. There are noises, static words that come through that you're listening for. And basically you have, 1 or 2 people that's asking questions, and the person that's got the headphones on is listening, and they will actually say what they hear.
Yep.
And sometimes you get an answer.
Yep.
Now, my dad died in 2019. I think that he had complications of COPD and he had lung cancer, but he probably would have been considered statistically to be one of the first COVID deaths, sometime around 2019. So he's dead and gone. We're there 2 years later, 4:30 in the morning. We're doing the Estes method, and my dad shows up, or at least something that was saying that it was him.
Okay.
And it really freaked us out.
Yeah, I will get into that stuff too here later too, my ethereal and all that.
So my daughter was had the headphones on, and she had to take them off. She was like, "This is too creepy."
Yeah.
Well then, okay, a couple of weeks later, we're back home. Everything's going, about normal. We're getting ready for Christmas, and all of a sudden we hear knocking, and it happened 2 nights in a row. Both nights happened at 10:45 exactly, and it was 3 knocks, and it happened on our bedroom door. So we're laying there, and you get 3 knocks, and at first we're going, okay, this is the first night. We're going, I don't know, that's coincidental. It's weird. Second night, it happened again exactly the same way at exactly the same time. That's when I started praying.
Yep.
And I had to pray that thing out,
Yep.
whatever it was.
Yeah, well, I know what it was.
Matt had a question too, or a comment, and then Court's going next.
Yeah, hey Larry, what is it about South Pittsburgh Hospital? What's caused all that stuff?
Let me tell you about Pittsburgh. I know that place probably. I had a key to it, so I wasn't in there with big groups. I would go in there and stay 2 or 3 nights in a row, just a couple of us, 2 or 3. So I know that place, and I can tell you about it probably better than anybody. I know what goes on in that place. The reason I don't go back now is, I don't care if he knows it. If he's still the owner, me and the owner don't jive too well together. I don't know if he's still there. He may not be. He may be another owner now. But I used to have a key to that place, and I was going to help him run it, and he got mad, and I told him it's just too far to drive. But that place is built on a lot of water around there, and water. It seems to make activity in the spirit world more, but I think this is what I think happened, and I know for a fact. Every hospital's haunted, just like every jail, every prison, they're all haunted. There was some Ouija boards that was brought in that place. And I can tell you right now, they were 11 demons that was unleashed in that place. I can promise you right now, they were 11 demons that was unleashed in that thing. And listen, I've got so many stories about South Pittsburgh, but Jim, one night about Jim. See, the girl the doctor that owned that hospital, Dr. Hayes, was the original owner. I was friends with him and his daughter-in-law. I had a key to that place. So I didn't ever pay or nothing. I just went in there and hunted it and helped them clean up every now and then when they need help on a cleanup day. But that place there, Jim, we got a video. I need to have my friend find it, Linda, my lead investigator. She's got a picture of Jim in a mirror. His head's turning completely around. So help me God, strike me dead now. His head in the mirror is turning completely around 360 in the mirror, and it was Jim, because we know what Jim looked like. And there's a lot of history about Jim, but I'm not going to go into all that. I know a lot more about him than a lot of people know, but I'm not going to go into that. There ain't no sense talking about a dead man now. But his spirit's in there, and trust me, it's there. But he's not the one that's really tormenting. He's not the demon that's there. There's several demons, and me and a police officer from South Pittsburgh, we had a couple people hunting one night, and we had the white box. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's one of the best spirit boxes that it was ever made at the time. It's like $5,000 for it. And we were sitting there just taking a break down past the emergency room in a little office room there. And across that spirit box, it says, "I know you, Larry Gouge." Plain as I'm sitting here talking. Then people said, "Who's that?" I said, "That's me." And I said, "I know you too." All right. And that's all it was said. It was quiet. Me and him walked out in the hallway there, looking down towards the moonlight was coming through where the emergency room is. All of a sudden, there was this humanoid looking creature. It just gnarled up and just drug itself across the hallway. I remember that South Pittsburgh policeman looking at me and are we language friendly here? Can we say whatever? And I'll tell you what he said. He said, "What the fuck was that?" I said, "That was that demon that just talked at me in there." And he goes, "Gouge," he said, "if that thing would have turned down this hallway," he said, I would have been gone. You'd been by yourself. And but I've got numerous stories about this, but I've got one more about South Pittsburgh I need to tell you because it cost a man his life. If you go back, you can go into some of these paranormal channels and you can watch the very first hunt that ever took place. Stacy Hayes was there. She was one of the ones that run it, and Doc Hayes' daughter-in-law. There was a group that went in there, and there was a lady who took her nap. There was rooms you take naps in there. They even had beds. You took a nap in there. She got dragged across the floor and was in so much pain, like they had to take her to the emergency room. She said it was dripping her insides out. They get her to the emergency room. The doctor said, "Was this lady in a car wreck?" They said, "No." They said, "What happened to her?" And she said, "You don't really want to know." And he said, "Yeah, I need to know what happened to her. Her insides is crushed. It's ripped her apart here, and she's bleeding internally." So that woman was never been the same, but she lived. But she's disabled now, but she lived through that. But there's a TV show about it. Well, we're in there one night. There's 4 of us. I think me, Pete Spakowski, my tech man Justin, and Scott. Scott's the one that winds up dying. Well, Scott, that whole night, and I told him, and it takes a lot for me to try to calm somebody down. I said, "Scott, I said, something don't feel right tonight. If I was you, I'd calm it down right now." I said, the feeling here is not good. I said, "I'd just calm her down." Well, he didn't. So we're walking back out, and all of a sudden, you felt something come between us, and you could feel the spirit so strong, and it's like it come up to you and smelled you. You could just feel it, that just this nostril smell you, and all of a sudden Scott took off running, and we're hollering, "What are you doing?" He takes off running, and all of a sudden he goes over, buckles over. Then he comes back up, and his hands are all drawn, his eyes in the back of his head, and rolled back. I know you're going to laugh at me. He was levitating 2 feet off the ground in the air.
Dang, man, that's crazy. That
And
is so crazy.
me and Pete went down there, and I said, "Get that wheelchair." He pulled that wheelchair. We got him sitting in that wheelchair. He was just shaking and jerking all over. And all I did was lay my hands on him. I said, "In the name of Jesus, I command you, Satan, to leave him now." And that son of a gun, it growled and real deep, and it left. He come back too. He went home. He was dead the next day.
Why did he die? Do you know?
Well, after he told me the same thing that night before he went home, he said it felt like something was ripping his insides out.
Really?
I said, "You sure you don't need to go to the hospital?" He said, "No." And he didn't stay. We stayed. He said, "No, I'm going to go home." He said, "I'm going to go." He said, "I'm going to go home." His wife called me next day and said they found him dead in the bed.
So he died in his sleep or something like that.
Well, he was still in a lot of pain, but I think you're not going to tell me. I know that killed him.
That's interesting.
He tempted that demon so bad that he got attacked, just like
That's
I
crazy.
got thrown to the wall. And then we went and sat down and took a break and just recovered after he left. And that's before we knew anything bad happened, except for him getting, we thought he was going to be okay. Well, we're sitting there, and Justin's about 150 pounds soaking wet. All of a sudden, gets him by the back of the neck, yanks him plumb up out of the chair. And he comes plumb up out of the flare. The chair falls backwards. And that's when I say, "Guys, we got to go now." I said, "This is too intense tonight. We got to get out of here." And that night we left. And that was, I think I went back one more time after that. Then it changed owners.
What you got, Matt?
Well, my question is, does demonic stuff like that remember you and other people when you walk back in years later?
Oh, yes.
And why do they do that?
Listen, a demon can go anywhere it wants to go. And I'm going to prove this theory too right now. We're down here at South Pittsburgh. The very next week, we're at Brushy Mountain. On an EVP, it goes real deep, growly, grumpy voice. He says, "You all was just at South Pittsburgh last week." Just like that. We got the EVP. And Linda said, "Oh, my gosh." That's what I'm saying. They've got the power to go wherever. Do they know you're coming back down there? So yeah, they know when you're coming. They hear you talk. Yeah, I'm gonna go back down. I'm gonna wait on them. We're gonna aggravate them some more. Then they may be one that may dwell in a place, but I'm gonna throw you for another loop here. I have done a lot of research in my life, and I have been in a lot of demonic possessions. I've seen a lot of stuff that an hour and a half won't even tip the scale of the stuff that I've seen. But I had we got a socket medium with us, and she's as good as gold. And we heard screams and tables busting and everything just breaking. And I said, "My God, what's going on?" She said, "That's the demons beating the souls that are bound here to earth, people that didn't make it to heaven. Hell's here, boys. Hell's in the center of the earth. Hell's here. That's why God, his demons got kicked out down here. This is hell. We're in hell. We got free will to choose, but hell's here." And there's things fighting that we don't even know about that's going on. And that's why you get ghosts sometimes to talk to you. Like we had a spirit one time that said, "Please, can you help me? Please help me." And the psychic medium told him, he said, "I can't help you, sir." And he said, please help me." She says, "You didn't make it." She said, "I can get you out of this building," but she says, "You didn't make it." She says, "You're bound here." She said, "You have to plead your case on Judgment Day." She says, you're done. She said, "I can't do nothing for you but get you out of this building." And but that's what she said, that the demons did not like. I think they control a lot of spirits that are bound to this earth. To me, that's part of hell for these people that don't make it. I think they control them. I think that's a lot of ghosts we see. A lot of times they didn't make it. And do I think our loved ones are still here? No, I do not. If they're saved and gone, I think little kids. I think kids are gone. I don't believe the good Lord above would leave a child here, and I've got pictures to back that up too. And one of them at Sims Graveyard over in Decatur, and well, South Pittsburgh. We had a little cat ball playing with down there. Had a group of people down there, and they said they walked up and I said, I confronted it, and they said we're talking to a little girl. I said you are. So I said I just called it out. I said, hey Lucifer. That was it. Done. No more interacting. And they said you ruined it. I said I ruined you talking to a demon. I said there's some spirits that you could probably talk to, but I said I think they're still controlled by the demons. But my theory's changed a lot over the past 5 years. It's changed a lot. Go ahead, Corky.
I'll tell you a little theory I've had about this whole situation. I'm just saying this is just my take on it, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong. This is just something I think about from time to time, because you wonder about if ghosts are real, or are they, or like you say, they probably are demons and stuff like that. But what if when you pass away, what if you've got a choice to go on, like go to the light or stay here, and maybe sometimes you don't make the choice to go on, and you make the choice to stay here. And maybe that's how we can explain some of these ghosts. Now, I guarantee you there's demons here. I believe that.
Oh, yeah. What you're saying, I'm not going to deny that's not possible, where you get sort of hung in limbo. I'm not going to say that's not possible. I honestly, my opinion anymore than what I've seen, I don't believe it. I don't believe that's possible anymore. I mean, it is possible, and I could be wrong, but me, myself, I don't believe that anymore. I used to believe that 100%, but now I just, my feelings has changed on all that. I've done a lot of scripture reading in the Bible and a lot of things, and I've changed a whole lot of views on that, on it.
Well, the Bible says when we pass away, something like you're immediately, if you're absent of the bodies, to be present with God, something like that, along those lines, right?
Yeah.
But listen to this. So I've tried to ghost hunt myself, so one night, me and a buddy of mine went to Mars Hill Cemetery. You guys probably know where that's at. It's right behind Central, where I used to meet and fight at after school and stuff like that.
You sent me that EVP.
Okay, so I'm there, and I'm with my buddy Mitchell one night. It's like 1:00 in the morning, and there's nobody there but us, right? So so we're just out walking around with a recorder in a graveyard at 1:00 in the morning, right?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nah, man, I'm down with it, praise God. But still, so I'm walking around, and we've lost Gouge, I believe. But we're walking around.
I lost
you. Yeah, you're back now, buddy. So we're walking around the graveyard, and I'm just talking. I'm acting like I'm Zach from Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. So as we're done, I say, hey, this is your last chance to show us something. And I stand there for a minute, and I go get in the car, and I leave. Well, we get back home, and, we're listening to the footage. And when we do this again, I'll try to figure out how to post this so you guys can hear it. But I'm telling you, I'm sure you've all heard EVPs and stuff like that. That's electronic voice phenomenon. And I know you probably heard something like, that don't make no sense. But I'm telling you right now, this one, when I said this is your last chance to show me something, as plain as I'm talking to you right now,
yep,
a little girl said, "Where's my mommy?"
Yeah, I heard it. You sent that to me.
But I didn't hear it then. So, I heard it later when I played back the recording. So I go back the next day, and I'm like, wow, that is crazy,
Yeah.
So I go back the next day, and I'm standing there around work because it was at night. You couldn't really read the gravestones. So I go back the next day, and I'm standing there where I got the recording at, and I look down, the grave I'm standing beside is a little girl, and her name was Debbie Derrick. Now, what's my last name? Derrick. So, man, it just blew me away. I think this girl, I don't remember now, but this little girl was 7 years old. when she passed away. Now, all I'm saying is, if everything's a demon or some kind of satanic entity, what you'd think you'd have something better to say than "Where's my mommy?" You know?
Not always. Sometimes they do things to suck you in, see if you'll talk more. Like maybe if you had that, maybe you'd go back the next night or the
And
next.
I did.
Then it starts sucking you back into it more. I just don't believe there's no kids here. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I've got a lot of kid pictures, and these pictures don't look good. I can just tell you, every one I've got don't look good at all.
Right.
Especially at the Sims graveyard, her eyes is blacker than coal, and I've got the pictures plain as day of that. And
Go ahead, Daniel.
So I can understand what you're saying, Larry, because I don't believe that who I was talking to was my dad at South Pittsburgh. That was something else. I don't think that my dad would have followed me home. I don't think that whatever was in this house was my dad. I don't believe it for a second. There's things that you start talking to these things or whatever, you start communicating with it, and if it is a demon, what's the demon going to do? The demon's going to lie to you.
that's
It's going to lie to confuse you and to get you more interested, and you get to talking more, and it opens you up more. When you open up more, you're more susceptible to more of its lies. So yeah, I can understand both points though.
Yeah.
Because I never necessarily heard it put like you put it, Larry, but I also understand what Corky's saying too, because
I
there's plenty of that
understand.
stuff that happens.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to that, my stance almost is neutral, because I really don't know, which is which.
And here's the thing: none of us will really know till we're dead and gone. We're none of us gonna know. We're just our theories, what we think. But actually, until we pass away, then we'll know everything. We'll know everything that took place. We'll know it all. But when you had 3 knocks on your door, that was your giveaway. That was 100% evil. So demonic always comes in threes. It knocks, and everything's in threes because it's mocking the Trinity.
Yep, that's what I've heard.
Travis.
So I see what you're saying, but now the Bible talks about the age of accountability. So maybe that's why you don't have to worry about them being here, because if they're younger than, what is the age of accountability? 12, 13?
Well, the age of
Something like
accountability, the way that I understand it, is different for everybody else.
I think it'd just be when you're old enough to understand what you need to do and what you don't need to do. That can be different from everybody,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. But, that might be how they go on. But, when Lazarus was dead for 4 days and Jesus rolled out there, his sister Mary said, "Hey, you're too late. He died a few days ago." And he said, "Oh, he's not dead. He's just sleeping." And he told him to wake up, but he came back to life. So that, to me, tells me, if you just, if you take the Bible for how it is written or how you read it, whatever, that anybody that's dead, it's not been Judgment Day yet. They haven't been judged. So they should still be able to hear you at that grave. I mean, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, but the Lord is everywhere, right? I mean, that's what they've
Do I
taught.
do I think our loved ones can hear us? Do I think that they can see us? I'm sort of hung in the middle on that. I think they could, but as of them, if they've made it to heaven, just running around here dwelling on this earth and communicating with us, I don't think they're going to interact with us. I really don't.
Well, right, yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I don't think that they can interact with us. But if Jesus said all it takes is us to have a mustard seed worth of faith to do the same thing he could, and he went to where dude was dead, where Lazarus was dead, and he said, "Wake up," and he could hear Jesus, then surely our loved ones can still hear us, even though they're not in the grave, but that might just be how they can
I'm-
hear us.
I'm probably 75%. And I listened to a preacher talk about it one day. Also talked on it. I'm probably way up there percentage wise. Think that they can hear us and they can see us. I don't think they're allowed to come around and interact with us and things like that. But I do think that they can see what we're doing down here. I'm probably way up there percentage wise. Think that can happen. But you got to realize demons are. Man, I've got so many stories on demons. It's not even funny. They can manipulate. They can do. Man, they can do so much that you don't even have a clue how smart and how they can connive and trick you into anything. I mean, and you think it's an angel over here. Oh, it's an angel, all right. It's the wrong kind of angel. You know,
Guys, while we're sitting here talking, and y'all are talking, and I'm doing stuff on our social media. Feel a little cold breeze. I feel a little cold breeze hit me, and my door just opened by itself.
Well, every show that I've ever been on, something's happened. Every
Praise
show.
God, praise God, baby.
That's all we can say. Praise God.
I knew I was gonna stir something up. I knew.
Well, let me tell you, I've never been on a show that I've not done it. And I had a psychic medium told me one day. She says, "You've got a bullseye on your back." She says, "They hate you. They hate you with a passion." That's what she told me.
I'm actually kind of freaked out right now, if I'm being straight with you.
Matt, I saw your hand go up. What you got?
What is it with like animals? I mean, can animals sense things like ghosts and stuff like that? Can they see and feel like a vibration more than we can? Have you come
100%.
across that, Larry?
100%. 100. Animals is a telltale sign every freaking time. I'm telling you right, especially if it's something that's not natural. It's. I'm telling you right now, a cat and dog will absolutely. They will absolutely. I've got the dog won't even sleep in this room I'm in right here. Won't even come in this room. It'll sleep in every room in the house. It will not stay in this room right here, no matter what you do to it.
So what you're saying is, if you've got an animal in the house, that's like a barometer to let you know if something's not pleasant.
If you've got something going on there, it may not. You may have some dumb dog. I don't know, but most animals will growl. They'll sit, and maybe they'll just sit and look in a corner or just in space out, just looking, or do something just odd. Always looking down this room, or always looking down this hallway. That's telltale signs. They're not always going to growl. They're not always going to run. It may be something that see. There's different levels of demons that you run into. Trust me. There's
That
demons.
used to happen all the time at my house.
Yeah, well, you probably had something going on there because listen, there's different levels. You've got they're all bad, but you've got some that play with you more that get in your mind. They call depression, alcoholism, all kinds of things. Demons don't mean you're demon possessed. Trust me, demon on your back and demon possessed is a whole different animal. I can assure you right now.
And I've got stories to go down that path too. But Corky, you had your hand up.
I was just going to say, I can remember the first time I spent the night at your house.
My house?
I can't remember. We was all laying there in a bed. I don't know. We probably wasn't going to sleep. But if you'll remember, I freaked out because I could sense something coming in your room. And you was like, "No, bro, you got to lay there and chill out, man." And I had never done that before, but I freaked out there that night.
So I remember that. I remember you freaking out, and that used to happen to me all the time. I called it Casper. It was a demon.
Yeah.
And it came from us messing around with the Ouija boards and whatnot that we had at one point. We had 3 Milton Bradley Ouija boards, which are just as dangerous as anything else. We had 3 Ouija boards going, and then Matt had actually made his own at one point.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we had a lot of bad sessions that happened, and guess what? We were kids. We didn't know what we was doing. We didn't know how to close out those sessions right, which I think probably spurred a lot of that on. But to get back to what you were talking about, Court, What worked for me from the time that I was about 14 years old, whenever that stuff really started amping up until I moved out of my mother's house when I was 18. For those 4 years, I could feel it come in. I could feel it come and go. And you had to remain calm, or as calm as you could, or else you would start feeding it energy and it would start amping up even more. That's what used to happen to me. I don't remember if you guys remember. I know that you guys were there, but my fans upstairs used to go on and off for no reason. Didn't come unplugged. They didn't get turned off. They just stopped, and you get calmed down, and then they'd start back up again.
And y'all always paid the electricity bill too. So
Yeah,
I
the
can verify
electricity
that.
bill, the electricity bill was always paid. So at least at my house, when I was younger, you had to stay calm. You couldn't let your fear take over, because that, in my experience, was what got those things amped up. It fed it. It fed it energy.
Yeah, I don't think we slept at all that night. I think
Well,
we
it
ended up
probably
going
did.
home.
Well, it probably didn't. Yeah, I'd say you did.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think we always like, you know what, we're gonna go to the house, something like that. I don't know. It ain't like we had a ride home, so we had to sleep somewhere. So,
Yeah.
but I don't remember the rest of the night.
It was always better when we had our campouts, because we were outside.
Yeah.
It was creepy enough, on that end of town anyway. We
Yeah.
just had a lot of shadows and too many street lights that we would see Michael Myers under or whatever.
Yeah.
But inside of my room, especially, and my sister's room was actually worse than mine. My sister's room, it didn't matter if it was middle of summer, 100 degrees outside, and we didn't have central heat and air. We had air conditioners that was in the window. I didn't even have anything upstairs. I had fans. Okay, so it's going to be hot anyway. You could go into my sister Amanda's room at any time during the year, middle of summer, and it is cold in that room. And it wasn't cold like that in any other spot in my mother's house. Now, I haven't been in my mom's house in a long time, so I don't know how it is now. But I remember when I was a teenager, my room was bad, but the one that you didn't want to go in was my sister's room.
Yeah, I didn't know that, man. That's crazy.
And it was cold all the time. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Larry, so let me ask you something else. I had an uncle one time, and we was at a funeral, and he just refused to shake people's hands because his wife had died. And I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. And I asked Dad, and I said, hey, why is he not shaking people's hands or hugging them? And Dad, of course, he didn't believe in stuff supernatural. And he just said, well, he thinks that something will attach to him if he does that. I mean, have you seen that? Have you seen that happen a lot?
I mean,
or have you seen things follow people their whole life?
Yeah, yes, especially with Ouija boards. Yeah, I've seen Ouija boards cause something to attach somebody that you can't get off with Ajax. So I'm just telling you right now, they'll be with you the rest of your life sometimes. But yes, I've had things attached to me. Can they attach to you in a funeral home? Can they attach to a graveyard? Yes, they can attach to you anywhere. But I've never heard of them not shaking hands or anything like that. I've not heard of that going on that's happened to this guy here. No, I've not ever seen that happen. But as an attachment, yes, I've had something attached to me and come to my house and I had to get rid of it. That's another story, and it's pretty spooky too. So attachments are real. Sometimes things can attach to you, and you not even know it. Man, I've got so many stories. I could be on here 3 hours.
Let me ask you this: if let's say you had an attachment, how do you get rid of it?
Well, it depends if it's an attachment, it stays on you, or if it's something you just bring back with you to your place. What I had, I just brought it back. My psychic medium that we had that time, even though I don't fool with psychic mediums, and she knows how I feel about it, but she is good. I don't believe we need to mess with mediums either, but we're at she didn't know nothing about this. This is when I first met her. Kate had tore an ACL in football. we're at the hospital, St. Mary's in Knoxville. We was a life surgery. That hospital was dead. Everybody was gone. They was closing it down. Lights started flickering. There's nobody there, just two nurses, me and Kate and Jennifer. And doors were opening, and them nurses were getting scared. She says, "What is going on?" I said, "That's spirits. They know that I'm here. They know that I know, or demons or whatever." At that time, I just said the spirits want to talk. That's before I sort of changed my theories a little bit. Well, about a month later, I met this lady, and she said, she said, "Can I tell you something?" She said, "Have you been in a Catholic church, or school, hospital?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" She said, "There's a nun with you." That's what she said. Now, like I said, I don't know what to take from this. I've never felt a nun. She said, "There's a nun with you." She said, "It liked you. It left with you." My response was she pretty?
Ah.
I said, "She no ugly," but she said, "No, it's a not my 1920s or 30s nun outfit." But she said she's a real young girl. But she said she left that hospital with you. Now, do I know anything about that to this day? No, I don't. Was it, because I don't know. I really don't know. That's got me confused on that. But when things attach to you like that, you need to be prayed for. You need to have the anointing of God to get it off of you. I'm a firm believer. You need to be prayed over. I mean, hands laid on you. You need to get rid of this attachment on you. It can be cause you to be an alcoholic, a drug addict. It could just be bring you depression. It could just be there. Like the one I brought home wasn't like that. It was it just come home. My bedroom door opened up. My chest of drawers opened and slammed. And it come over and started choking me in bed. And I was gasping for air. And
Yeah, man, I believe that. I can tell you guys some stories about this house when I moved in here, and I'm not going to do it tonight.
No, I wouldn't.
But like maybe I can go on location or something like that the next time we have one of these shows. There I am. The stuff we went through the first 4 months we lived here was stuff you could make a movie out of. It was real bad. I mean, when you say a demonic spirit, there's different, and I've done some study on this. There's different levels of possession.
Yeah, they are.
It's not just I'm Reagan, I'm puking pea soup everywhere. It's like you said, it can just cause you to be depressed. It can cause you to make stupid decisions but anything to screw your life up. Let's put it that way. And I can tell you that every single person in my family was a victim of it. And I had to seek out my leaders in my church, and I had to step up as the leader of the family and take care of what was going on here.
Yep.
And, like I said, I can talk to you guys about it out of here, but I'm not going to talk about it in here because I think if you do give something energy, then it can fuel off that. And I'm not going to give any energy to anything here because, we're past that. But it's a real thing. I don't know how everybody believes. Everybody can believe differently, but I believe it's a real thing, and I respect it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. 100% respect it. But we got rid of it. I got rid of it. I sent my family away, and me and one of my investigators, who's not with me now, he was with me, and we cleansed this house. We prayed, and we got rid of it, and it's gone. And as far as I know, it ain't been back. There is something here, but that's not what I brought home. But whatever's here now, it like plays pranks on you. I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I really don't. I think it all comes from demonic. I just ain't sure what it is. It's here doing this. But it's nothing bad. It ain't bothering nobody because I guess it knows we just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, or you ain't gonna bother me if I want to go sleep. I'm gonna sleep. But when somebody lays hands on my throat, I come out of that bed mad.
I believe it, man. I've seen it firsthand, Larry. I mean,
It's like slammed my door, opened my freaking Chester door and slammed it. I was gasping. I mean, you could feel the hands around my neck. And I come out of that bed, and I'm gonna tell you something. There was no fear. I was pissed
right.
that something laid its hands on me. I was a mad son of a
Yeah.
gun.
Yeah, you get to the point where you're actually mad, and,
Yeah.
and you know, yeah, I've been there, man. I've been there. I promise you, I've been there.
But you
It's
got
probably
that
one of the
charge.
spirits. Probably the spirit of one of them refs come back to try to kill you, Larry.
Come back to throw one more flag, baby.
Don't
right.
even get me started on that ref.
Hey, Larry, he's still there, baby. You're gonna have to deal with him the same as you did back then.
I know. I seen him at a football game one day, and I went
Hey.
like this.
Hey, he got us last year. Said our footballs were too flat, and I'm like, man, we ain't Tom Brady, baby. Come on.
He just watched me air them up and said they were too flat.
It's Travis. He don't like Travis. That's what.
Yeah.
No, ain't none of them like me much.
Hey, he's always like, Corky, you going to control your people? I'm like, they're grown men. I can't control them.
What do you want me to do? Go over and handcuff them and set them down? I mean, spank them, and I mean.
Well, Larry, are you? Is the Star Mountain Paranormal? Are they still doing investigations? You're all just.
It's still here. Matter of fact, you're on the page too. You're one of the
Yeah.
It's just when COVID. Let me tell you something. Don't even get me started on COVID. You all know how I feel about that.
That's a whole nother show right there.
Yeah. That was all demonic too. That was all demonic. That's a whole different show. But that cost me a lot. I mean, especially my Haunted Adventures, which you all don't know what that was. I had a company called Haunted Adventures, and we rented all the most haunted places in America, and we sold tickets. And we'd go there, and I would always stay at the place. Me and my crew would stay there all night. Everybody'd go to their hotel, then they'd come back the next night, and we'd always stay at these places, and we'd sell tickets and make money. That's why I was telling you guys we need to get it started again. And hey, there's room for 4 or 5 of us to start it, and it's something to think about. And but when COVID went, everybody just was afraid to go anymore, so everybody just quit going. So I just sort of just lowered it down. But now Star Mountain Paranormal, same thing. People just you get calls all the time, and I'm gonna tell you, and you have to check them out. First thing you got to find out what kind of medications these people's on. You got to find you got to see a lot of these people just tell crazy lies and stories, or they're on something and they're seeing things that ain't even there. Oh yeah, they've got a demon, all right, but it's not the kind that's haunting your house. But
they got a demon of that drug, baby.
But now I did have one in Athens about a year ago, and this was severe. Linda called me. She's the one that called me. She said, "Hey, we need to go to this lady's house. She's having all kinds of problems and this and that." Well, I get over there, and I felt the root of the problem. The root of the problem was her grandson. He was 17-year-old. He was demonic possessed. He just walking back and forth in his room watching us. I got so sick to my stomach. You could feel the presence of Satan there. I was about to puke. And I walked in his room, talked to him there for a minute, and he had the satanic leader, his big picture on the wall, and everything. Let me tell you something, man. I was about to, and the boy didn't do nothing to me, but you could tell he was messed up. I turned around, walked out of that room, and I looked at Linda. I said, "I'm going to pass out." I said, "The force here is so strong." I said, I'm about to throw up. I said, because I wasn't prepared. I thought we just going for an interview to find out what was going on. Well, I walk out there by the door, and there's a table there. And I looked down, and I said, "Where did this 357 Magnum come from?"
Oh God!
And that lady says, I said, "It wasn't there a while ago. Trust me." I said, "I look at everything up on that door, and it's by the door." I said, I looked in, I said, "I don't have my gun on me. We need to go." I said, "We need to go." I said, the force was so strong in that house. And I called the lady back. I said, "I want to tell you something. I can help you." I said, but no, he wasn't 17. He had just turned 18. That's what it was. And I said, "I can't do nothing because he's an adult unless he wants me to." I said, "If he was a juvenile in your custody, then I could do something under your permission." But I said, him being an adult, I said, I can go to jail. You know what I'm saying? I can't go in there and confront him and cause something to happen that could potentially kill you. You know what I'm saying? Or something. I don't
Dang.
know. And I told her, I said, if he ever wants help, you call me. I said, I'll bring a whole crew over here and we'll do what we got to do. I said, I'll bring a minister with me too. And this, so don't get me wrong, a demonologist is not a minister. It's not a pastor. A demonologist is somebody that goes in, that finds out what's there and knows if it's demonic activity or what's going on, or if it's worthy enough for, to have to do a demonic possession, to do an
Right.
exorcism or something. And, and a lot of times there's nothing to do, but there was something in this house that needed to be done. And, and I told him, I said, I would come back. I called her. I said, but I can't. It was over off Million Street, not far from my daughter's house, down the road. And I told her, I said, I can't. I said, I can't confront him much. I said, I asked if he needed any help. No. And he just, you could tell the force was strong there. The force
Whatever
was
happened?
strong. I don't know. I don't know. I just told Linda. I said for them to give me a call. And I called that lady. I said, you're going to have to call me if he needs help. I said, I can't force myself on this guy. And she said she would, but we've never heard nothing else out of it. But he had
Dang.
posters he had the pentagrams, he had the main guy that runs the Satanic Church and all that
Dang.
stuff. He had all that stuff hanging up there on his walls and everything. But it was for them when you walked in that house, it was so strong you was wanting to puke. And I was about to throw. I really was. It's been a long time since I've had something make me want to throw up. And that's why I told her. And the problem was, if I would have come prepared and knew what I was encountering, I would have been ready for it. I wasn't ready for this. And it just hit me right. It made me sick. I was sick for about 2 or 3 days after that. I kept telling Jennifer, I said, man, I'm not right. I said, whatever's in there made me sick. But I've never heard nothing out of him anymore, so I don't know.
Go ahead, Daniel.
So I'm gonna change gears just a little bit here. I've got a question. It's mainly for Matt, Travis, and Corky, because we experienced a whole lot of the same stuff, especially when we were in high school. But you get into this thing, and everything gets amped up and whatnot. And we had experiences for the better part of 4 years. Okay. In y'all's opinion, out of everything that you experienced in Inglewood and Travis, even at Etowah, we saw some stuff. But how much of that, in y'all's opinion, was an overactive imagination versus actually something that was going on? Because as I've gotten older, I've always had that in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, what was I really saying, and what was in my head that I just thought that I was seeing because I was scared at the time?
Well, I'll say this. There was one point in time where me, you, and Matt were were planning on driving a stake through his neighbor's heart because he was a vampire. So I would probably say we had a pretty much overactive imagination. But I'll tell you this much: what happened in your room that night, and that apartment we hung out of your mama's, dude, that place never felt right either. But I'd say a lot of the stuff we have is just us having overactive imaginations, but there's some stuff that it really happened.
There's stuff that happened that I really can't explain. And that's the truth. I just can't explain it one way or the other.
Yeah.
But a lot of it too, I think, happened on account of us being, amped up ourselves and having an overactive imagination. Matt, what's your take on it?
I mean, it's usually stuff like that's a hybrid. I mean, you got overactive imagination, and then there's probably things that did happen. And so, I mean, I think it was a hybridization of two. I don't think it was one or the other. I think it was kind of both.
So we thought that somebody was standing in your room and it ended up being a coat rack or something, I think. So that's how our imaginations ran wild on us.
But then there's also times where you remember that night where mom had all the windows in the house open and they all shut at once.
Yeah. I also
So
remember the woods. And the
yeah,
woods wasn't no joke. There was something in the woods.
So Larry, let me ask you this, and that goes back to what Daniel was talking about. I had a pastor tell me this, and I don't, like I say, I don't know if it was true, but we had went to these woods, and we always thought these woods were haunted. You know, we'd always heard stuff in there, had personal experiences of whatever. But there was this spot down the woods where it was just completely circular, like a UFO disc circular shape. You know, it's pretty big. I'd say it's probably about 15 across in every direction.
Probably bigger than that even.
Yeah. But so we start digging in there with shovels just to see if there's anything in the ground. And the ground was it stunk so bad. It was like it was just sour.
Yeah.
And he said that what you guys did, you guys disturbed something pretty powerful.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Because it smelled like sulfur and just really just rotten.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I think. Is it rotten and sulfur? That's a sign of demonic one. If you smell sulfur, you smell rotten eggs and rotten meat, you've encountered 100% a demon. He's there. That looks like to me something I found up in the Smoky Mountains one time. It's like where witches has done a coven of witches has used that spot to do whatever they do. I'm not a witch, but you know what I'm saying. They have a big circle. A lot of times they'd have rocks around it. I don't know if that had rocks around it or not. But a lot of times they'd have rocks around it, but they would do so many bad things to that ground that it was just saturated with just demonic force, just nasty smell. I can take you to one right now, 6 Mile, up on the backside of Cade's Cove right now, and it's the same way. And that's what I think you encountered that night.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Whatever it was some bad stuff in the woods.
Yep.
And honestly, that's when we started fooling around with the Ouija boards, and then when we started going in and out of the woods, broke ground in the woods, smelled that and whatnot. That's when things really, really started to get amped up, at least at my house.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think that's why I don't think it was just overactive imaginations, because if you've got 4 different people having different situations based off of a trigger of one event, then it's not an overactive imagination.
So what I was meaning is just the overall magnitude of it. You know, you get down to the point to where it's like any little sound that you hear, you know, you're all freaked out now. It's demon. You know, that's what I was more talking about.
All your windows shutting, that was 100% paranormal. I
mean, that's pretty hard. That's pretty hard to explain away right there.
Yeah. I mean, one window, but all your windows slamming down. That's pretty.
And it was those old windows where you had to push the tabs in.
Yeah.
From left and right side to pull them down. So it wasn't like. That was like one of the craziest things I had ever experienced just in that house that I grew up in. I never experienced anything else like that there.
Well,
so that was the only thing that ever happened there.
If you all ever get the chance, and listen, I'll go with you because hey, our guys slide it all. If you just want to see, if you just want to go on a real listen.
I do not.
Our guys slide it all. We'll go to the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas. That is a bad place. Out there, I can tell you some stories. Don't know if we have time. I can tell you some stories.
But let me ask you this, Larry. Let me ask you this. You remember me and you was coming back from Knoxville from that football game?
I've never forgot that.
And I told you, I said, get your phone out because when we pass this graveyard, your phone's going to go back an hour.
Yes,
and all four, and everybody's in that truck went back an hour.
Yep.
Every time we passed my cousin's grave where he was buried at.
Yep.
Now, that hasn't happened in about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
What
It
do you
happened that
reckon?
night.
Well, oh yeah, well it happened every time. Like
Yeah.
it happened for a year and a half after he died.
And you told
And
me, you said it was going to happen. I said, oh, you're crazy. It happened.
yeah, and so but what would stop that from happening? I mean, was he attached to me, or he just hanging out and be like, hey, I'm still here? Or,
It's one of them things. Listen, it could be, I don't know. That's a hard answer right there. That one there blowed my mind because you told me it was going to happen. I said, sure enough, it happened. Uh,
yeah.
I don't really have an answer. Could it been attached? Yes. Could it been demonic playing with your mind? Yeah. It could have been a lot of different things.
Well, the day he was buried, we had a game in Etowah actually, and it started at the game. We were supposed to be there at like 4:30, something like that. Well, we got to the funeral procession started at 2:30. Well, when we got to the graveyard or whatever, it probably took about an hour to get there. Well, when I was leaving, the clock said 2:30 on my phone. I was like, yeah, I got plenty of time. And so I, got to the truck, and it was right because but it changed on my phone. That's the first time it did it, and every time I passed for about a year and a half, it did it.
Well,
But it hasn't in a long time because I go up there. I pass it every time we go to practice up there in Madisonville, and it hasn't happened.
Well, I can tell you right now, something's in this room with me right now. I promise you right now, God struck me dead. The hair, I seen it out the corner of my eye. Don't have a clue what it was over here. Hair standing up on the back of my neck. Hair standing up my arm. That's why I've been going back and forth here. It's behind me here. So I don't know what it is, but it's here. Something is 100% with me right now.
I
And,
feel you, buddy. I feel you, buddy.
It's an uneasy feeling
Yeah.
because I don't like nothing standing behind. I'm not afraid. I just don't like nothing behind me.
Check the time on your phone.
Do what?
Check the time on your phone. See if it's an hour back.
No, not if we started on the right time. It ain't. Now, if that would have happened, I'd have freaked out over here. I thought, what in the world?
Yeah, Bobby, it's your house now.
Oh,
Well, hey guys, I think that's a good way to wrap this up. I think we'll revisit this show again because I really believe we could go on for another 2 hours with this.
listen, we could go on probably till 2:00 in the morning.
But hey, Larry, I appreciate you spending time with us tonight, man, and let's do it again here one of these days.
Anytime, you all just holler.
All right, man. We appreciate you, Larry, and we appreciate everybody else for tuning in. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.